It's time to rank the top 6 rookie quarterbacks from the 2024 NFL draft class based on their landing spots. Jayden Daniels is my QB1 over in Washington. I got him over Caleb Williams. We're going to talk about that and more coming up next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson, always on the ones and twos. You can find and follow me on X at DP_NFL. I'm a senior draft analyst, and thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday shot for being our everydayers. And I got to kick this intro over to my guy, Mr. LSU himself, Keith Sanchez. You can find and follow him on X at The Talent Code. Keep talking to him, baby.
What's up, Locked On family? Let's get locked in. This is Keith Sanchez, 2019 national champ with those LSU Bengal Tigers, man. And the other side to this dynamic duo that we like to call the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, where we bring you the best draft content. And listen, the draft is over, but the show doesn't stop, DP. We keeping it going. We are keeping it flowing, man. I want to say shout out to everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day, man. DP. Ranking the top 6 quarterbacks, right? Post-draft. What are we talking about? Where did they go, right? Talent, the roster, right? We always say on this podcast that situations matter. So we're gonna rank the top 6 quarterbacks and see how we have them listed. And I have a really good feeling that our lists are totally different, DP. So this should be a really good show. Then we're gonna talk about Spencer Rattler. On this show, we always talked about Spencer Rattler as a potential starting quarterback. He went to the New Orleans Saints. Is he going to unseat Derek Carr as the starter there? And then we're gonna get into our favorite day 3 picks. And I'm gonna give a little hint. I'm going to the West Coast, DP, for my picks. But man, before we get started, why don't we hit them with our title sponsor?
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Ranking these top 6 quarterbacks, Keith, and I said it in the opening. Number 1, I have Jayden Daniels going to the Washington Commanders. I have him as my number 1 quarterback based on landing spot. Just looking at what he's walking into, I think Cliff Kingsbury will be a nice fit for him offensively, right? Having Dan Quinn, who's going to make sure that defense is playing up to par and be able to play complementary football with him. He's going to have a strong run game. And he's going to help the run game, first off, with his ability to run the football, make Brian Thomas Jr.'s life a little bit easier, keeping those backside defensive ends out of the action, out of the picture. But I just love the fact that we get scary Terry McLaurin, who to me, he could be anywhere from wide receiver 10, wide receiver 7 to wide receiver 15. It all depends on the quarterback he has, right? I think now with a deep ball, accurate deep ball passer that can really take advantage of the speed he brings to the game, the suddenness he brings to the game. I absolutely love that pairing. I think Jahan Dotson, I think we see a reemergence of rookie Jahan Dotson when he was out there literally working guys in the slot, getting open, making plays. He was catching accurate passes. I think we're about to see a reinvigorated version of Jahan Dotson. I just like this fit for Jayden Daniels and for the team. Also, I think he's going to have a lot of – because I remember Cliff Kingsbury. He gave Kyler Murray freedom in the backfield, right? Dropping back, hey, if you don't like what you see, get out of there. I think he's going to give Jayden Daniels that same type of freedom. And as we've always kind of compared him to RG3. So I got Jayden. I got Caleb Williams. Right? No shocker there. I have J.J. McCarthy at 3 to the Minnesota Vikings. At 4, I have Drake May. At 5, I have Michael Penix Jr. And at 6, I have Bo Nix.
Okay, yeah, we got some things to talk about, DP. We got some things to talk about. I'm not going to take long on my list because we have to get into these conversations and get into the discrepancies, right? Number 1, I have Caleb Williams with the Chicago Bears. Number 2, I have J.J. McCarthy with the Minnesota Vikings. Number 3, I have Michael Penix Jr. with the Atlanta Falcons. Number 4, I have Jayden Daniels with the Washington Commanders. Number 5, I have Drake May with the New England Patriots. And number 6, I have Bo Nix with the Denver Broncos. I think you know what? From top to bottom, we on different sides of this, right? We have to talk. We have to have this conversation. I think I went Caleb 1, you went Caleb 2, right? So we can kind
Mhm.
of exit out the Caleb conversation. Your number, so your number 1 was Jayden
Jayden.
Daniel. So let's start with that one because I had him at number 1, 2. I had him at number 4. Um,
Mm.
the conversation, I guess, surrounding Cliff Kingsbury, and I know, Cliff is your guy. You're a big Cliff Kingsbury
Mm.
guy. I'm playing. I'm messing with you, but no. So I guess that's that would be my starter of this conversation piece is how do we rationalize that part with the unknown of Cliff Kingsbury, right? And when we went through this process when we were talking at the draft and talking about, remember all of the times it was like the adjustments, and the lack of adjustments that happened with the Cardinals. So I guess knowing that situation, how do you fare or slash fall, I guess, in reasoning with that?
Yeah, I was very when the hire first happened, I was a little iffy about it. I think
Mhm.
when he was at full control, he answered to no one, right?
Right,
You know what I mean? Like Cliff Kingsbury, it was his show, and I remember him going into like people wanted him to stop calling plays, and he came out and was like, "I'm not going to stop calling plays." Right? I think now in the situation of OC, it's like Dan Quinn's going to be in that ear. Hey, what you did in the first half did not work. We need to pivot. We need a plan B. What are we doing to adjust? Because now you have to answer to a head coach who
yep.
knows for a fact if you don't do your job, you make my job that much harder. So I think now with him not having full control, we may, I'm gonna be honest, we may see a better version of Cliff as a play caller because now it's not just you resting on your loins, your impact, not just your job impacts and the value of how you do your job and the quality of how you do your job impacts the head coach as well. But I just think, he's had so much experience with athletic quarterbacks, Mahomes, Kyler, going all the way back to college. He knows how to let these guys just play ball, right?
Are
And be
you are you
themselves.
are you confident that he's going to consistently allow Jayden Daniels to use his legs, or even the projection? Do you want Jayden Daniels to consistently use his legs in this situation with the Commanders? Because I personally believe that Jaden's legs, um, a third, maybe 40%, right, of what he does. And I'm perfectly fine with it. I have no issue with it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I guess if Greg Roman was the offensive coordinator, I would know what's going to happen, right? Because I watched case
Mhm.
studies of him with Colin Kaepernick and Lamar Jackson, right? We know he knows how to run quarterbacks, right? I just,
Yeah.
with Cliff Kingsbury, I thought it was more collar make a play with your legs versus let me design you some stuff.
He designed some stuff, but then he gave Kyler, full autonomy, like read and go, whatever it is, whatever you see, go and make a play, right? And I think that's when he's gonna let Jayden just be himself. I don't like how we remember how we talked about with like Jim Harbaugh and I forget who the OC was, how they like almost shackled and caged in Kaepernick into the pocket late in his career after he had was such a dominant runner. It was like, hey, let's make you a pocket passer. I don't think we're going to see that with Cliff. I don't think Cliff is going to just force Jayden to stay in the pocket. I think he's going to let him get out, Keith. But I want to, I got to ask Michael Penix Jr. I'm going to tell
Yep.
you why he was lower on my list. I don't know when he's going to play, Keith. Like, you know
Well,
what I'm
okay.
saying?
Well, let's hold on. Well, let's hold on, DP. We can transition right here so we can have this conversation because we have quite a few quarterbacks to go through. So this is what we're gonna do, man. We're gonna push this conversation into the next segment. So coming up next, man, we're gonna talk about the rest of these quarterbacks, and we're gonna start it off with why we're so far different on Michael Penix Jr.
Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your number one ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your number one ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Keep your number one ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Guys, Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which makes getting playoff tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip off. With killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets, especially right now when the NBA playoffs are in full swing. Guys, you want to talk about being in full swing and buying NBA tickets? You can use the Game Time app right now and purchase tickets for the Clippers hosting the Dallas Mavericks tonight at 7 p.m. Tickets as cheap as $72. All right. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On NFL for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On NFL for $20 off your first purchase. All right, Keith. So talk to us. You have Michael Penix Jr. higher than me. I like the situation he's in terms of the weapons, but we may not see him for 2 years. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the earliest they can get out of that situation or that contract or Kirk Cousins. So talk to us. Why do you have Michael Penix Jr. as high as you do?
Yeah, it's because I am leaning more towards the philosophy, DP, of I don't mind drafting and stashing a quarterback and letting them develop and letting them take their lumps in practice. And when I look at what the Atlanta Falcons have from a infrastructure standpoint, offensively, they have good skill positions because they've invested in them through the draft, right? And then now I feel like he gets to learn from a veteran. So when I look at the situations, I think sitting a quarterback is not a knock on him. And I actually, like, I'm more giving bonus points, right? Let him learn the game of football. Let him learn NFL football. Let him learn what he can and cannot do. Let him do it in practice. And then he also has a veteran like Kirk Cousins, so he can see, like, okay, what plays I can take risks on, what plays I can't take risks on, what situations, do I have to bounce back? What situations do I have to kind of be a game manager, right? What situations do I have to be aggressive? How do I run a 2-minute? How do I run a 4-minute drill, right? All of these different things, he can sit on the sideline, hold a clipboard, and observe. And we know Michael Penix, right? We've talked to him. I don't think that him sitting on the sideline is him kind of throwing in the white towel and saying, I'm not going to worry about getting better. He's going to try to beat Kirk Cousins, right? Like, I think he has that internal competitive clock in him, competitive nature, let me say that, to where he's going to want to compete and get better. I just think that I think that Kirk Cousins is going to be the starter, but I think it could be a really good situation come 2026. Like, you just looking at a starting quarterback, he's ready to step in, he's ready to sling the rock, and he's ready to rock and roll. So that's why I put it up top. And to be completely honest, because I do like some Atlanta skill position, DP, even if it wasn't Michael Penix, I probably would have still had other guys like JJ McCarthy or, one of those other guys at Jayden Daniels. Even if they didn't play, I'd just be like, this is a good Atlanta Falcons situation. And we didn't even get into the offensive scheme of, hey, I mean, the tree is proven now at this point, right? The Sean McVay, the tree is proven that whatever they do, whatever they learning, it works. So that's why I kind of brought into Michael Penix that early.
No, like I said, the system, the coaching staff. Here's I think, like I said, the fact that he's probably not going to play for 2 years. It depends. You will see how it goes with Kirk Cousins. You know what I mean? We don't know. We have no idea, right? Coming off of Achilles at 38 years old, or however old he is. I think the main thing for me is, and I've been kind of saying this for a while, I don't know if Terry Fontenot is going to be the GM there either. Like, there was it was a weird interaction with him and Arthur Blank after he made Michael Penix. He's trying to sell like Arthur Blank. Arthur Blank stared at him with like this blank look on his face, like, what did you just do? He's like trying to talk him. He's talking to him like, yeah, like you could tell he's trying to explain to him why he picked Michael Penix. And I'm like, oh, I don't like this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because the owner's just sitting there like, we didn't discuss this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I have to see that interaction. I didn't see that interaction.
It came out like from the war room after they made the pick, and everybody was like, "Oh no!" Like, Arthur Blank isn't like Jerry, because that was Jerry Jones. He might have been fired on the spot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's the part that what you're saying that I'm surprised. And I mean, that's how I think it should be. I think the owner should own and worry about the financials, and I think the general managers should select the players, right? Like, do your job, right, to the T. But I'm kind of surprised, like, with drafting a quarterback, that the owner wouldn't be involved.
I think because of how much money the owner kicked out to Kirk, They was looking at like, oh well, we're at 8. We can get like best player available. You took a quarterback. It was just like just a weird situation. But
So
I love. Oh yeah, go
can
ahead.
we? I just real quick with that situation and DP on this quarterback conversation. I don't is rolling right now. But with that situation, because people saying they could have won defense, but correct me if I'm wrong. Latu Latu was the first defensive player off
At
the
15.
board at 15. So I think consensusly across the NFL, everyone felt the same and the same as us too, right? We were saying, hey, I don't know if I would take a defensive prospect at 8, right? So I wonder if they're sitting there like, hey, we could have added potentially another wide receiver because they could have went Roma Dunze, right? Or we could have, they
That's
could
the
have
other
added
problem.
yeah, they could have added an offensive lineman if they wanted to, but maybe they sat there and was like, hey, this is a good opportunity to take a swing on a quarterback. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Versus drafting a defensive player that we're not extremely confident in, that we like, but we don't love.
Yeah, but then it makes the rest of the draft look worse because then you went and traded up Farouk, who doesn't have a design position. You
Right.
got Braylon Trice, who I truly believe Leitu's like much better than as a pass rusher. So it's like you could have traded down, got more picks. You could have just drafted an impact player right away than a future quarterback when you kind of you could have waited for that. But I think for me, JJ McCarthy, Keith, walks
You
into
had
arguably the best situation.
Yeah,
I
you
had
have
him at
JJ.
3.
You had him at you think so is this combining talent also? So you're looking at the
Oh,
talent and the
100%.
situation. Okay. Yeah, because
Yeah. Like,
I had him at 2. So I guess we're somewhere in the same. I went Caleb, then JJ with that
yeah, I
combination.
love what he has, man. I mean, he's still a little unproven. We got to watch that natural development, but I think he fell to the right coach. He's got wide receiver 1 in the league to me. Justin Jefferson's the best receiver in the league right now, in my honest opinion. Then you got Jordan
LSU.
Addison.
LSU.
Okay. Um, Then you got freaking Aaron Jones in the backfield, man. I just love what they have around them, where he really can just come in and just learn the game, just play. Like you could, if you want to let Sam Darnold play the first 2 games, stink it up, and then start him, by all means. But I just know that looking at it, you feel really good about what you're going to get from JJ McCarthy with Kevin O'Connell. And you talked to JJ, right? You interviewed him. What do you
Yep.
say, man? I'll run through a wall for that
Wow.
guy. Like
And
this is a
he was only
pairing.
his head coach for 20 minutes, right? He
20
was ready to
minutes.
and he was ready to run through a
I'll
brick
run
wall
through a
for
wall.
him.
I'll run through a brick wall for this guy. So I'm excited for that pairing. I'll finish it up and then we can talk about Spencer a little bit. Drake May, I have Drake May, and of course I have Bolden. I have Drake May over Penix. I love what they ended up doing to get him weapons, getting Javon Baker,
That's what
getting Jalen
I
Polk.
wanted to ask you about that.
Those 2 picks a
That's
lot.
Yeah, so ranking these guys after round 1, right, is one situation, but ranking them after the entire draft is another because I mean the
It's
Patriots,
another, yeah.
they were able to what they got Jalen Polk in the second, and then they went
Second,
and
yep.
got Javon Baker. So
In the
you
4th.
feel in the 4th. I'm sorry. You feel really good about both of those guys playing and contributing. And the reason that I say that was because last year, right? Like it was the Keyshawn Butte situation. It
Oh
was
yeah.
what It was
Pop
Pop
Douglas.
Douglas. It was what other wide receiver did they have?
Devontae Parker,
And
Tyquan Thornton, who barely could stay healthy or make an impact. Really, it was rough in their receiver room, man.
yeah, it was. So you think these guys are significant upgrades to elevate the entire situation? Because that's what I still, to be honest, I like both of those guys as wide receivers, right? I do. I like them if you're talking about an optimum situation. I don't know if I love them with rookie quarterbacks, right? Like I feel like all of them, like everybody's gonna be taking lumps at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if you have 2 rookie wide receivers that's your starters and a rookie quarterback, it just for me it sounds like a recipe for taking a
Mhm.
lot of lumps, right? Like a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
learning on the go. We're gonna have to kind of take our licking as we keep going.
No, and that's definitely fair too, because like I mean, I think for me, especially with having and they brought back Juju Smith-Schuster, who's a wily veteran, Super Bowl champion with the Chiefs.
True.
I think he'll be really good for those 2 young men. And the crazy thing about they already have connection because they work with the same wide receiver coach, Coach Steph Brown. So they've already put in work together, working on their routes, releases. And I just think that pairing them with Drake May, I think those 3 that I'm looking at that storyline heading into training camp. How do those three mesh? Like, how quickly do they gain that chemistry together,
It's
right?
gonna be big.
And I think it's going to be huge. And I remember the Patriot teams of old with Tom Brady. They never, like, besides the Randy Moss year and stuff, they never had that, like, true number one, right? They would have just a good group of guys, and they would make you cover everyone. And I think that's kind of what Gerard Mayo's looking at right now. A good tight end in Hunter Henry, wily veterans in the room and everything, then bringing these two young athletic, like, route runners, run at the catch guys, great hands. You bring these guys in and you throw them into this offense and you feel really good about it. But Keith, to close it out, well, not to close it out, but the transition. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, do you want to transition and we can have this Bo Nix conversation in the last segment? We'll partner Bo Nix and Spencer Rattler in that
I don't
third
even really
segment.
want to talk about Bo Nix, but I'll talk
we
about it.
got to talk about coming up next, man. We're gonna have us a conversation about Bo Nix with the Denver Broncos because I believe he finished last. Like that pairing finished last for both of us, right? And we're gonna kind of get into what's our concerns about it, and then we're gonna talk about Spencer Rattler, right? Who's the next quarterback off the board after we had this record-breaking gap in quarterbacks, which was crazy, which was insane to say that we had a record breaker for how many got took in the first round, and then a record-breaking situation
Four rounds without a quarterback.
4 rounds without a quarterback. That was amazing. So we're gonna have a conversation about Bo Nix, Spencer Rattler coming up next.
All right, game off. We got to pause it here to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. You've already talked about that. But there's so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with your friends for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers. You can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes. Cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton, including their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent freezes. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now. Free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. Guys, thank you for making Locked On for Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Bo Nix came in at 6th on our list in terms of ranking the rookie landing spots. I think scheme-wise, I like it. I like him with Sean Payton. And I think Sean Payton will make it easy for him. And it was crazy because I remember when Russ got benched and they started Stidham. And it was Stidham. And then there was a game where it just felt like the play calling was like so much easier for Stidham, whereas like Russ, like, do something. You know what I mean? Where I think he's going to call a game that's going to make it easier for Bo. But the situation and the talent around Bo, and I'm just like, this is tough, man, because I do love them getting his number one wide receiver in round 4. Like, that's great value, right? To get Troy Franklin, a guy that he has outstanding chemistry with. He's familiar. He knows the chemistry there. He knows how he runs his routes, the timing, the breaks. He knows this stuff already. So does that help increase and accelerate his development a little bit, right? Getting comfortable in Denver 100%. But okay, so you telling me it's Cortland Sutton, it's Marvin Mims, it's Greg Dosage, Adam Troutman, Tim Patrick coming off a ACL and Achilles, back-to-back seasons, back-to-back preseasons, if I remember correctly. And then Troy Franklin.
Marvin Mims.
Yeah, Devon Vele, they drafted out of Utah, who I like. I think he could be – that's the guy I'm going to keep my eye on to see if he makes the 53-man roster because he's got the size, speed, and route running. But it's just rough, Keith. Like, I just you know what I mean? Like, you drafted Audric Estime in, like, round 5. You have Javonte Williams. The O-line has been iffy at times during, Russell Wilson's tenure. I just don't know how well Bo Nix can play in this situation, right? How can he mitigate bad decisions and this and that? Like, I don't know, because I feel like he's going to be under, if the run game's not going, Keith, I think Bo Nix could be in some hot water early, especially dealing with you got Max Crosby, you got Chris Jones, George Karlaftis, Charles Omenihu. Oh my God, you have both uh Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack that you got to deal with. All of that in just the division, not the rest of the AFC, just your division. I don't like this for Bo Nix because his situation just isn't great to me.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, bro. The reason why this came up last because it was the situation, right? It was obviously some question marks about what Bo can do. If there's any optimism, it's Sean Payton, and he's gonna have to. It's you. I almost want to say you put yourself in this situation, right? You wanted a young guy, you wanted a rookie, you wanted to move on from Russell Wilson. Well, you got a young guy, you got a rookie, and you moved on from Russell Wilson. Now, the situation we're gonna have to see what you coach up, what you dial up, what's gonna be the mentality. But I think Sean Payton gonna have to get his hands dirty. This off season, right? As far as drawing up plays, and then when they get into training camp and mini camps, like it's a work in progress, and he gonna have to put that work in. It won't be as easy, right? Like not just handing the reins over to a Drew Brees or anything like that. So we will see how that go. But DP, delayed, not denied, man. Delayed, not denied. We are finally on to this Spencer Rattler conversation. The quarterback conversation was really fun. Though. I thought it was one we kind of had to flush out, kind of go through and everything. But Spencer Rattler, a quarterback that we talked about a lot on this podcast, right? We watched him at the Senior Bowl. He was Senior Bowl MVP, right? Performed well. We know that he was quote unquote Caleb Williams before Caleb Williams. He fell all the way to the 5th round, right? And there were a lot of different reports of why. And some people say his play, some people
Stupid.
process, and some people say it's because he did a Netflix show 5 years ago.
At 17 years old.
Yeah, right.
Can't look past it, Keith. Can't look past it.
But he fell to the Saints, DP. And the Saints was a rather interesting situation because I think for Spencer Rattler, it's one of the better situations he could have went to. Because it's not all bad. He doesn't have to play immediately. But if Derek Carr doesn't get his stuff together, he can play sooner than later. And I think that's the exact type of situation you may want to be in.
100%, right? I think he is an absolute threat to Derek Carr. Derek Carr is 33 years old this season, right? And they can't move on from him right now. They could move on from him in 2025 after this season, like post June 1, it would be like a $21 million cap hit. They will only save about $8 million on that year. But 2026, if they come in post June 1, they would save 50 mil, only have 11.4 dead cap situation. So it's like they're gonna, at the end of the day, they're gonna have some cap, right? So, some dead cap getting out of this deal. But Derek Carr's been a model of inconsistency. That's just what it's been,
100%.
And
honestly, it's just been bad in New Orleans. And I won't put it all on him because the play calling was downright horrible. And I've watched a lot of Saints games over the past 2 years. It's been bad, DP. It's been one of the, combining college and NFL has been one of the worst situations. And that's including college also. It's been bad.
Yeah. I haven't watched a lot of the games. I've seen some of the film and I'm just like, come on, Derek. There's throws that he's like not throwing. Yep. And it's always been that with him, like where he's always been kind of a passive aggressive thrower of the football, where it's like, man, that bang 8, that post route is there. Like I see that safety, but you got the arm to drive that. And he just turns those big explosive plays down sometimes, or then he throws a deep ball in the triple coverage and it's picked off. And like, that's when you decide to be aggressive, Derek. Like, it's those type of situations. I think he does. Spencer Rattler's going to come in, and I think it's going to be kind of a quiet situation where he's just back there working. And I think the preseason, we may see Derek Carr for like 2 quarters, the whole preseason. I think the preseason is going to be a bunch of Jake Haener, who they drafted last year, and Spencer Rattler. I think Spencer Rattler is going to win that QB2 job, and I truly give it mid-season or so, where if Derek Carr's not playing well, that Spencer Rattler ghost that's behind you, it just keeps growing to where it becomes 100%. A shadow over you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and the fans, as you know, are passionate in that city. They want to win.
Yeah, no, and it's a good situation for Spencer because there's no pressure on you to be the starter right now, But if he doesn't play well, the fans are going to want you to play, right? They're going to be excited about, you know what? Let's see what he can do. So I think it's a good situation. I think it's a good situation for Spencer. There was an issue with the offensive line, but they addressed it in the draft, getting who they drafted, Talise Fuaga, right? They drafted Talise Fuaga, which was good. If Ryan Ramczyk comes back, then you have the offensive line in place, and then if you're able to get anything out of Trevor Penning, you have a good offensive line.
No, I think they traded Trevor, didn't they?
They traded Trevor. I didn't see so many mock drafts.
They traded him with the Wait, did they trade him? I thought. Oh no, never mind.
DP,
I think that happened.
That was
our mock draft.
That was in a mock draft.
That was a darn mock draft special. I was like, wait, isn't Trevor Penning in Buffalo? Like, no, all right, never mind. So yeah, Penning is there.
To our listeners, we did a Locked On with the entire Locked On network, and there was a mock draft, and somebody traded Trevor. Well, Ross Jackson, for the Locked On New Orleans Saints, he traded Trevor Penning to the Buffalo Bills. So that's why DP got it a little bit confused, man. But that's what happens, man. We do so much football over here, but man, listen, DP, that wraps up another episode of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your number one source for everything NFL draft content. Like we said, just because the draft is over, the party doesn't stop, man. Continue to tap in with us. We're gonna have some really fun conversations. We have some really fun episodes. We got rookie mini camps coming up. We have all the training camps. We're rolling through this entire summer, so make sure y'all stay tapped in because this is the best NFL content that there is out there. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my co-host, my guy, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we always like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. On tomorrow's episode, we're getting into rookie wide receiver fits. What rookie wide receivers fell to the right and even best situations. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.